Part 71. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 719. Ililo stood in the ruins and looked around at the warriors cheering excitedly and hugging each other. He did not choose to join them, and sat down against the metal debris beside him. His eyes were slightly sour, and he shed tears of disappointment. For 10 years, he had been in an inexplicable fear of death all the time. He was afraid that if he couldn't go back, his parents would lose their son. How sad would the girl who had been waiting for him to go back be when she faced the news of his death? Now it's all over, the war is over. Standing high on the battlefield in the core area of the destroyer, Ran looked down at the Union soldiers celebrating victory in various ways, and a faint smile couldn't help but appear on his face. She likes the atmosphere here, likes these mortals who are fighting bloody battles with her, and likes this model of a just world where everyone fights for the same goal regardless of civilization, race, or cultural differences. This is an existence and pattern that Ran has never encountered in the known universe. It is not like the aloof justice of angels, nor the excessive freedom and chaos of demons. They are soldiers from different star fields, different worlds, different civilizations, and different races. Now they gather on a dangerous battlefield for the same goal, just to protect the just world in their hearts. Now they have finally won this difficult battle. They defeated the powerful Eternal Ascended One. Their victory will be recorded in the history of the just world and open a new chapter for the just world to move into the future. In the known universe, the corpses of countless demons divided into several sections are floating in the starry sky. Kesha sits on her cross throne with an indifferent expression, flanked by several guardian angels. Apart from that, there is no one else. Other angels exist. In addition to the dead demons around, there were hundreds of frightened demons thousands of meters away from Kesha, too coward to dare to step forward. My left and right wing guards have all left, and there are only these few angel warriors around me. You have hundreds of demons now? It's you who blocked me here, and it's you who's standing there motionless now. Do you want to kill me with your eyes? But I'm sorry, I'm not that fragile. It's still not enough to hurt me with your helpless eyes. You can ask your demon queen to add a dark energy ray calculation formula to your eyes. Maybe I will still look up to you. Kesha's voice was very pleasant, just like having a normal conversation with ordinary friends, unhurriedly. But the demons present felt that their bodies were cold, even though they could survive normally in the low temperature of the vacuum of space. Kesha, don't be complacent. Your dictatorship has become notorious, and we demons will overthrow your rule sooner or later. A mighty-looking demon pointed his sword at Kesha and yelled angrily. Do you think I'm dictatorial? It's such a novel point of view. Whether to follow the justice of angels or not, I give all civilizations the right to choose. If this is called dictatorship by you devils, then aren't your demons more domineering than mine? After all, you don't ask someone who wants to become a demon or not. You. We are doing this for freedom. Only by overturning your bullshit justice can we gain true freedom. And only by becoming a devil can we gain the power to overthrow you. One demon spoke emotionally. It's because of your angel's random execution of so-called justice. The war broke out in my hometown. My daughter. My wife. Everything about me was destroyed in that humming war. And it was the angels who caused all this. You are not the savior at all, you are the source of disaster that destroys everything. One of the demons became even more agitated and almost roared out these words while flapping its wings and rushing in Kesha's direction. Kesha did not answer the demon's words. She just watched the demon quietly as he gradually approached her. The guarding angel on the side wanted to stop him, but Kesha gently raised his hand to stop him. When the demon rushed to a position 10 meters away from Kesha, 4 conical silver blades suddenly stabbed out from the space around the demon, easily piercing through its limbs and chest, and held it there. Purple blood flowed out from the wound and turned into a ball and floated around. The ferocious-shaped sword in his hand wanted to cut in Kesha's direction, but the pierced arm restricted his movements. The justice of angels never affects innocent mortals. It is precisely because your civilization is unable to deal with the evil that is weighing on your heads that the angels will take action. I feel sympathy for your daughter and wife who have been affected by the war, because I understand the horror of war. But the restoration of order is an internal matter of your civilization, and we angels have no obligation and will not intervene. Kesha looked at the struggling demon and spoke these words calmly. You stinking bitch. Since you don't interfere, why bother meddling in our civilized affairs? It's because of your condescending attitude. That's why so many people died. The demon had begun to speak incoherently, but then a flash of silver light flashed across his body, and his voice suddenly stopped. I just can't stand the strong bullying the weak. It's not because I want to be your savior. Kesha said this very softly, so softly that only she could hear it. Then she looked at the other demons present, and her voice gradually became colder. It seems that Morgana is just a coward. She sent you to die. I have been waiting for so long and I am not willing to come out. Then there is no use for you, just let them all die. Then countless silver blades cut through the space, intertwining a large net, strangling all the demons present to death, leaving no corpse intact. In demon number 2, which was far away from the battlefield, Morgana's heart trembled slightly as she watched this scene, and she was very afraid of Kesha's strength. Queen, do you think we can defeat Kesha? A big demon with an extremely tall body, scarlet lines like battle lines on his skin, a pair of horns pointing toward the sky, and wings like flags swallowed his saliva and asked in a low voice. Morgana glanced at him sideways, and the tall demon quickly replied. Queen, I'm sorry, I meant how can we defeat Kesha? No, we can definitely defeat Kesha. Morgana waved her hands, not caring about her men's offense, and just said something. You are domineering and want to die. After speaking, a smile appeared on Liangbing's face, then he turned around and waved to the demon beside him, and said with interest as he walked towards his throne. Achuo, sometimes the more powerful you are, the safer you are. With man-made creation, there is man-made destruction. Kesha is not invincible. There are definitely ways to destroy her in this universe. What we have to do now is play slowly with Kesha. I believe someone will find us. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 720. On the angel's right-wing front, He-11 led the angel army to fight with the demons all the way, driving the demons to wander around the planet system. He-11 was not in a hurry, and just continued to force the main force of the demons to transfer, slowly reducing the demons' strength. The left-wing army led by Ruaning did not choose to take a rest after fighting the main force of the demons, but continued to attack like a storm, taking advantage of the demons' inability to assemble the main force, and constantly clearing out the demons' resistance. As the king of angels, Kesha led her guardian angels and chose a planet to stay there, without covering her whereabouts at all. Kesha's meaning is very simple, she is here, if the devil has the courage, just come over and die. During this period, Morgana organized several attacks, but there was no wave at all. Under the strangulation of the silver wings, no demon could get close to Kesha. If a large warship approaches, the sky blade parked outside the planet's atmosphere will let them know that unless they have the defense and firepower of a celestial-level warship, they can't even get close to the planet where the King of Gods lives. Queen, neither the Holy Left Wing nor the Holy Right Wing found any trace of Morgana in the Angel Nebula. Is she not in the star field? Angel Yan came to the floating temporary angel palace, and after saluting, he reported to Kesha who was sitting on the stone throne. There is no trace, which means Morgana is definitely hiding in this star field. Under the supervision of our supercomputer, any major changes in the known universe cannot escape our eyes. Kesha was not in a good mood, because it was obvious that someone had provided help to Morgana, and the help was not small. The most suspicious thing at the moment is Carl, the god of death. This little guy has been living in the Styx galaxy since he got the big clock, and he is tinkering with those animal civilizations. Although the intelligence stated that Carl was building infrastructure for the beast civilization, helping them establish a complete industrial and technological system, allowing them to move from barbarism to civilization. But it's like a wolf eating grass for the sheep to see. As someone who had experienced the period of physical war, Kesha didn't believe that the other party didn't understand the truth of raising a tiger to make trouble, but because Carl never provoked her, she had no reason to go to the Styx galaxy to raise an army to punish him. But this time it was different. After Morgana failed to attack Heaven, she was blocked in the Angel Nebula. The celestial supercomputer continuously scanned the entire nebula. Whenever any abnormal movement was discovered, there would be 2 sky blades on standby to fight. The unit rushed over immediately. Then the Holy Wings will teach Morgana how to behave, but He-11 is still worried about what happened in the past, and always wanted to give Morgana a hard slap to tell her the price of deceiving him. Kesha had no intention of stopping this. The crimes committed by her sister were enough to be judged by the Angel's law, but even so, there was still the slightest hesitation in her heart. This is also the reason why Kesha has never personally participated in the Angel's annihilation of demons, but now the sharpest sword of the Angel civilization is no longer there. If she, as the blade to open up the future, remains silent, the Angels will surely suffer heavy losses. Elan's fall is a lesson learned from the past. Kesha doesn't want ruining, and Hexy also plans the future. Carl, I'm stuck here by Kesha. Is there any way you can get me out? Morgana kept pacing back and forth in front of the demon throne. Carl's projection was watching Morgana quietly from the side, her delicate face expressionless and calm. Liang Bing, you are still more attractive than before. Morgana was waiting to see if Carl could do anything, but Carl held it in for a long time before he said this. There is no way I can get you out of the Angel Nebula without alerting Queen Keisha, even if I use the Great Clock. Morgana was about to swear, but was blocked by Carl's next words, and now was indeed not the time to quarrel. Then fight her head on. Morgana shook her arms and vented her frustration. According to the calculations of the big clock, your winning rate is only 15%. This is based on the premise that Queen Keisha has no unknown offensive means. Carl's words were like a basin of cold water, dousing Morgana's newly raised fighting spirit. After a while, Morgana's frown slightly relaxed, her eyes fell on Carl, the corners of her mouth raised slightly, and she spoke softly. How about adding you? Carl's calm eyes moved slightly, but he did not respond to Morgana's words immediately. Alan Lugo Star, this is the name Kesha gave to the nameless star where she lives. Although it may not give birth to life and civilization for another 100,000 years, as her temporary palace, she is still dedicated to it. Got a name. After several months of waiting, the demons in this star field have been killed and fled, and have basically disappeared. Ruaning and Hexy have also completed their respective tasks, killing all the demons in the star field they are responsible for. Wipe out. What do you think Morgana is doing now? Kesha and Hexy sat on a lawn outside the temporary palace, looking over the edge to admire the ferocious and rugged special landscape of Elan Lugo. That's because the sloping peaks pointed at the sky like sharp knives formed by the special climate on the planet's surface are so shocking and so orderly. Kesha liked this, even though it wasn't very beautiful, the orderly arrangement suited her aesthetic perfectly. Based on what I know about her, she should be looking for a way out of the Angel Nebula now and will be jumping out on her own soon. Kesha answered He-11's question, then turned her head slightly to look at He-11 beside her. What? Are you worried that we will fail? No, Queen Keisha, it's just that I'm a little uneasy inside. Morgana can keep covering her whereabouts, and there must be someone helping her. Otherwise, with the computing power of the Apocalypse computing cloud alone, she would not be able to cover up the whereabouts of the demons. As a developer of celestial computing power, no angel knows the consequences of the computing power gap better than me. He 11 showed a trace of sadness. As for the lack of traces of Morgana, no one could understand what this meant better than a scientific research officer. Don't be uneasy. There are not many people in the known universe who can help Morgana. That little guy Carl's big clock? Or Li Yang's Tower of Heaven? No. Pan Zhen is not so stupid as to risk offending the angel to help Morgana. At most, he can remain neutral. After all, Li Yang can't start a war with advanced civilizations. Keisha whispered what she was thinking. Could it be the space principle? He 11 proposed a new existence, and Kesha frowned upon hearing this. It has not appeared in space for thousands of years. He has disappeared without a trace since the destruction of the Dino civilization. There is no trace of his existence in the entire known universe. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 721. Kesha said as she stood up from the lawn, walked forward to the edge of the platform, and looked down at the endless sloping land below. I'm just waiting now, waiting for the facts to verify my speculation. Will it be Carl or the sun, or space, or something else? Since they dare not confront the angels head-on, it means that they must be on the weak side. In this case, let them jump out on their own. I will let them know the consequences of offending angelic civilization. Hexie stared at Kesha's back, and the uneasiness in his heart disappeared without a trace. Sure enough, I am still suitable to be a scientific research officer who doesn't worry about anything, so I don't have to think about these troublesome things every day. Hexie thought so, and then stood up and came to Kesha's side, just like a knight guarding the queen. A month later, in the orbit of the Aloran star satellite, the Skyblade flagship stood quietly in the middle of the 4 Skyblade guards. On the opposite side, the same 5 celestial battleships with black and purple as the main colors were facing each other tit for tat with the angel's heavenly blade. However, compared to the splendor of the Skyblade and the graceful shape like a sharp sword, the devil's celestial battleships are much simpler. Except for 2 of them, which use alloy as the main body of the ship, the rest are transformed from large asteroids. And in terms of craftsmanship, it is obviously not up to the level of the first 2 ships. Hexie, what do you think? Kesha asked He 11 beside her, hoping to rely on her eyes to judge Morgana's reality. Well, the strength of the hulls of 2 of them is comparable to the first-generation Skyblade models. The main bodies of the other several ships are too fragile. As long as they break through the surface shield, they can be destroyed with the firepower of the Skyblade. Hexie used his authority to mobilize the computing power of Kesha's sacred knowledge treasure house, scanned the opponent's ship, added the obtained information to his own judgment, and told Kesha everything. As for Ruaning, the angel commander, he is currently leading the angel army to protect Tianren's airspace at close range to prevent the devil's wormhole face-breaking tactics. In fact, before the celestial battleships from both sides reached such a distance, the angels and demons launched a wave of long-range bombings against each other. The embarrassing result is that both sides have detection methods far beyond the range. It is not easy to avoid the other party's attack. Even if you can't avoid it, it is also very simple to intercept. But the only thing that made Morgana unhappy was that, except for a few of her demons, the rest of the warships were destroyed by the angels' bombings. Although those demons couldn't make it to the stage, they didn't even play the role of cannon fodder. They all received lunch boxes. This made Morgana feel a bit unlucky, and she decided not to play with these demons who were not even qualified as cannon fodder. Now that the distance is enough, even if the detection methods are advanced, limited by their own maneuverability, the celestial warships can only predict or resist the enemy's bombardment at such a close range. If a celestial warship wants to destroy another celestial warship, it can only fight each other at close range like bayonets flashing red. Whoever cannot hold on first will be finished first. Of course, if there is a planet-level destroyer similar to the Eternal Ascendant, equipped with a celestial-level kinetic energy weapon, and the ability to instantly smash through the Sky Blade shield with extremely terrifying kinetic energy, that is another matter. But it is a pity that the Devil does not have, and does not have enough time to build such a supergiant celestial body-level weapon facility. Before the battle between the two celestial warships, Morgana led some demons through the wormhole to the center of the battlefield and started calling for formation. Kesha, I know you're watching me. Now that you've seen it, why don't you come out and catch up with your good sisters? Or are you afraid of me? Ha ha ha. Morgana's wild laughter spread throughout the battlefield through wide area communications. Kesha looked at Morgana's arrogant and provocative look through the projection, her expression unmoved, and she whispered an order. Aim at her and directly carry out the Sky Blade bombing. In the universe, Morgana was still yelling and cursing. Seeing that the angel didn't respond, she cursed more fiercely and became more energetic. But the next moment, a communication from New Devil No 1's henchman interrupted Morgana's yelling. Queen, it has been detected that the Sky Blade is gathering energy, and it should be heading towards you. Damn, this bitch Kesha is so insidious, open the wormhole for me in advance. Morgana cursed secretly, and then she saw an orange-red flash of light on the front of one of the 5 Sky Blades in front of her. Seeing this, Liangbing didn't dare to stay, so he quickly retreated and slipped into the wormhole behind him. Kesha had expected this. She had no hope that Sky Blade's attack could hit Morgana, which was even lower than the chance of her sudden super gene collapse. Order the Sky Blades to advance, destroy the demon battleship, and destroy Morgana. Kesha's calm but unquestionable words were transmitted through communications into the ears of various Sky Blade captains and battlefield command angels at all levels. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Ruaning waved his sword, which was wrapped in pink crystals and had a rather strange shape, and rushed towards the demon battleship with a group of elite angels. Its purpose is self-evident, which is to use its own powerful strength to tear open the defense of the demon celestial battleship and break into its interior. This is easy for Ruaning, who is the holy left-winger and is also known as the god of storm war. Following the actions of the Sky Blade, the demons also reacted and immediately began to fight back, each pouring their strongest firepower on the other. For a time, dazzling flashes of light continued to erupt in the universe, and terrifying energy shocks were vented everywhere on the battlefield, and the approaching meteorites were directly turned into fragments. Even the nearby planet Melanlua was affected. The occasional scattered energy aftermath fell into its surface, and a huge explosion occurred, completely destroying the original landform like a forest of oblique fronts. Seeing the angels approaching, in order to prevent the other side from breaking through the shield, the demons also used wormhole arrays to suddenly appear on the battlefield, catching the angels led by Ruaning by surprise. However, the elite angels who could follow Ruaning in the assault mission were not weak. They quickly established their position, back to back, and worked in pairs to kill the demons that suddenly attacked from the wormhole. It goes without saying that Ruaning is proficient in micro-wormhole warfare. The devil is undoubtedly teasing her by trying to sneak attack her through the wormhole array. Before the demon in front of him came out of the wormhole, he was stabbed to death by Ruaning with a sword. Then Ruaning took advantage of the fact that the wormhole was not closed yet and directly used his own computing power to calculate the position of the other end of the wormhole in reverse. The next moment Ruaning flapped her wings and plunged into the wormhole, and then she came to a strange place, surrounded by a dozen demons with shocked faces and black alloy walls. Haha, let me come in, and you all will die. Then Ruaning quickly swung his sword and struck out with small flaming slashes. The demons in the wormhole array room were cut into several ends, and even the alloy wall had several gaps. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 722. In just a few moments, a bug door delivery cabin inside the demon was destroyed by Ruoning. The solid alloy walls could not stop Ruoning's wanton destruction. If this continues, it will only be a matter of time before the Devil's wormhole array is completely destroyed. Besides, it won't take long for a third-generation god to really show his power and paralyze a celestial battleship. You demons are vulnerable. Ruoning cut a big demon in half and stepped on his body, then spoke disdainfully towards the demon exits around him. Don't be so arrogant, Angel. A tall demon emerged from the insect gate, with the jet-black halberd in his hand surrounded by thunder. Combined with his oppressive figure and wide wings, he was extremely difficult to mess with just by looking at him. Ruoning clicked her tongue, then lowered her body and uttered a sentence. It looks pretty bluffing, but I don't know if it's just a fancy idea or not. After saying that, Ruoning rushed forward into the wormhole and suddenly appeared on the side of the high-level demon's head, with the silver sword blade almost touching his neck. But the next moment, Ruoning suddenly retracted the thrust sword and retreated while spinning his body. The sharp sword he swung with the help of his body also collided with the halberd thrust in the air, making a huge roar. The spread of the impact knocked away all the surrounding demons, and even high-level demons were not spared. It looks quite small, but I didn't expect it to be quite strong. My hands were numb from the shock. The demon who sneak attacked Ruoning said solemnly, not only as a warning to his companions, but also to relieve his own tension. You must know that they are supported by the demon's wormhole array calculations. Any movement of Ruoning will be analyzed, and the prediction results will be told to them. It was predicted in advance, otherwise they would not be able to keep up with Ruoning's movements. Ruoning was half lying on the floor with a sword in one hand, and the wings on his back were contracted, ready to push the body out like a charged spring. I didn't expect to hunt geese all day long. I almost got pecked in the eye by a goose today. If she hadn't discovered the space fluctuations caused by the wormhole just now and avoided the sneak attack in time, Ruoning felt that even if she wasn't injured, she would still be in trouble. Since this was the case, the enemy could not be underestimated. Ruoning suddenly did a backflip to avoid several god-killing armor-piercing bullets fired from the hiding place, and casually threw the sword in his hand around. A jet-black longbow was carried out, and a pure black arrow appeared at the same time, and Ruoning completed the action of drawing the bow before he landed. As soon as it hit the ground, a dark arrow emitting a faint shimmer was shot out by Ruoning, targeting the high-level demon. Watch me chop it up. Due to his limited knowledge, the high-level demon didn't care at all about the arrows shot by Ruoning. He raised the lightning halberd in his hand, and a raging torrent of lightning rushed out from the halberd blade. Ruoning was not impressed by the comparison. He knelt down and drew the bow again and shot an arrow in another direction. Seeing this, the other high-level demon cautiously avoided and did not dare to take a direct hit. But the next moment, two high-level demons were shot through the head by a pitch-black arrow that appeared out of thin air less than 10 centimeters from the side of the head, almost in no particular order. Easily. Ruoning stood up, his eyes fell on the remaining big demons and ordinary demons, and before they could escape, pitch-black arrows penetrated their bodies. Ruoning then put down the raised longbow and exhaled a breath. He did not break into other areas again, but contacted his own heavenly blade. Hey, did you receive it? Except for maintaining the necessary attack and operation of the sky blade, the idle computing power is transferred to me. Understood, Sister Ning, we are building a connecting channel for you and it has been completed. Very good, wait until I go back to ask Queen Kessa for your credit. Ruoning felt the various information around her suddenly become extremely clear, and directly opened her eyes of insight, scanning her surroundings carefully with her eyes glowing with light white light. The originally black alloy wall was quickly dismantled in front of Ruoning's insightful eye, which was blessed by the sky blade at this moment, revealing the structure behind and beyond. Found it? Ruaning Yuxi closed his eyes of insight, opened his palm, and took out an arrow that was densely engraved with sacred words on its surface and was completely black without any reflection. Ruaning very gently put it on the dark long bow, pointed it in one direction and slowly pulled the bowstring, as if he was afraid of accidentally launching it early. And as Ruaning pulled the bowstring, the sacred language inscription on the dark arrow also began to glow, and was eventually covered by a layer of dazzling orange light. As the longbow was fully stringed, Ruaning let go of his hand, and the arrow shot out fiercely, easily penetrating the layers of alloy bulkheads in front, and finally hit the energy reaction conversion reactor group inside the demon. Then a horrific explosion suddenly swept through the interior of the demon. The ordinary demons near the engine and energy reactor group were turned into ashes in the surging energy torrent before they had time to react to what happened. The angels and demons in the outside world only saw one of the slightly crude celestial battleships, the demon, which was fighting passionately with the sky blade. One of the hulls suddenly exploded, and raging energy flames spewed out like a volcanic eruption. Immediately, the strength of the demon's shield began to weaken at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it stopped launching attacks. Ruaning was not satisfied after causing heavy damage to the devil where he was. He raised his bow and prepared to strike a few more times, but suddenly a huge black metal claw suddenly appeared, grabbed Ruaning, and rushed into another open door. In a micro wormhole. Ruaning felt her eyes go dark, and then she entered the cosmic space outside the demon. The giant black claws that grabbed her kept increasing the pressure. Ruaning only felt uncomfortable being strangled all over his body, and struggling hard was of no use at all. The pressure of the giant claw did not decrease at all, and it tended to get heavier and heavier. "You little bichi! How dare you break my beloved devil number 4? See if I don't twist you into a twist." Morgana held one hand in a hollow position and kept exerting force, while Ruaning was not far away from her, being held in the palm of her hand by a huge black claw that was larger than her entire body. Finding that she couldn't break away from the giant claw holding her in a short time, Ruaning quickly began to calculate the micro wormholes and planned to move herself away. "Playing these little tricks in front of me, who gave you the confidence of a little bichi?" Morgana laughed after saying this, feeling a little better about her bad mood due to the destruction of demon number 4. And Ruaning also discovered that no matter how he calculated the micro wormhole transport, he could not succeed. Knowing that he was being targeted, his heart suddenly became cold. "I'm going to kill him, otherwise something will happen later." Shaylin's figure suddenly appeared on Morgana's side. Her dark armor with purple accents, combined with her elusive movement and dark wings, made her look like a ghost. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 723. Morgana nodded, and saw a thin sword suddenly appeared in Shalan's hand. The dark angel wings spread out, and like a predatory bird, it rushed towards Ruaning, who was held by the giant claws. Suddenly a stream of light shot out from the dark starry sky, knocking away Shalan who was rushing towards Ruaning, and then chased Shalan and attacked continuously. Shalan tried her best to dodge, but Morgana did not stand idly by when she saw this. Another huge black metal claw appeared, and she saw the opportunity to catch the streamer who was chasing Shalan. Immediately, dazzling energy sparks continued to splash in the palm of the giant claw, and with a violent burst of energy, the giant claw could no longer grasp the stream of light. And this stream of light stopped moving after moving a distance away from the giant metal claw controlled by Morgana. As it stopped, Morgana and Shalan also saw its true face clearly. It was a dart-shaped weapon with 4 tapered blades in the middle, the centers on both sides covered with white alloy, and blue crystals inlaid in the middle. It was constantly rotating at high speed. "Damn! It's this crap again." When Morgana saw that it was this thing that was chasing Shalan, she hated it, and she didn't know who controlled this disgusting thing. Across an unknown distance, the demonic civilized armies under her command were being slaughtered continuously, leaving her alone and with her cronies to fight Kesha. This thing that suddenly appeared was the star life controlled by He-11. It was a pity that the attack just now failed to kill Shallan. Now the energy accumulated by the star life has been used up and is being recharged. Fortunately, Morgana didn't know about star life's flaws, otherwise she would have interrupted star life's charging. Although Shallan's attack was blocked, Morgana would not give up. She quietly pinned one of her hands behind her back, and a silver dagger appeared and then sank into the wormhole. Above Ruanning's head, a silver dagger suddenly appeared, targeting Ruanning, who was now in trouble. But there was only a flash of sparks from the collision of metals, and the silver dagger and the dart-shaped silver blade appeared at an unknown moment, spinning and flying backwards in the opposite direction of their respective forward directions. Kill my holy left-winger in front of me. After not seeing you for many years, you have become a lot more courageous. As this rather oppressive female voice sounded in the cosmic space, a figure sitting on the cross throne slowly appeared in the starry sky from the wormhole. Not far away were the fierce sky blades and demon horns fighting in the background, as well as the demons and angels fighting each other. You are also Kesha. I haven't seen you for so many years, and the pressure on me as the king of the gods is getting bigger and bigger. Morgana put away her little moves and raised the corners of her mouth into a forced smile. Before the fight officially started, her aura was already at an absolute disadvantage. Along with Kesha, there were more than a dozen high-level angel guards, including the younger generation Angel Yan and Angel Leng. Yan looked at Ruanning, who was trapped by the giant metal claws, and a flash of shock flashed in his eyes behind the visor. As the saying goes, the more you know, the more powerful you will understand the power of angel technology. And now that Ruanning, who is the angel's holy left wing, has been captured, it is obvious that the demons present are extremely powerful, and you must be extremely careful in future battles with them. Angel Leng, who has a bad temper and is outspoken, is as quiet as a quail at the moment. She is not stupid, and she also understands the situation. Nowadays, the people present are all bosses she can't afford to offend, so there is no chance for her to speak. Kesha glanced in the direction of Ruanning, and gently raised her hand on the armrest of the cross throne. A fiery red stream of sacred language data suddenly appeared on the giant metal claw holding Ruanning. Seeing this, Morgana quickly controlled her devil's claw and let go of Ruanning. While retracting the devil's claw, she also simultaneously destroyed Kesha's invasion and seizure of the devil's claw's authority. Queen Kesha thanks you for your help. Ruanning, who was out of trouble, thanked Kesha and then retreated to Kesha's side, staring at Morgana with blazing eyes. The other party made her lose face in front of Queen Kesha and would never let her go. Don't bother Morgana for a while. You are good at micro-wormhole warfare. Although this is your advantage will become an absolute disadvantage in front of her. Morgana is better at this than you. I will deal with her personally from now on, and you can deal with the more difficult fallen angels. Kesha saw Ruanning's reluctance and directly arranged a task for Ruanning in the communication. The guardian angel behind her also received Kesha's arrangement and was responsible for dealing with high-level demons and ordinary people who would interfere with the battlefield of fallen angels. After doing this, Kesha's eyes fell on Morgana again, and the feeling of being looked down on made Morgana extremely uncomfortable. I have been waiting for you for almost a year, and you are finally willing to come out on your own. I guess you must have found a helper, otherwise you would not come to face me in person. Kesha was the first to speak out, her tone still very normal, neither angry nor indifferent. Can't it be that I want to get to know you better? You are the supreme king of gods, and I am the evil in your mouth that must be destroyed. But now the evil in your mouth has become stronger, trying to pull you, the king of gods, from your throne and make this universe dyed with my color. Don't you think this script is more interesting? Morgana said mockingly, and what she received was indeed Kesha's sneer. Do you still feel that you are on the right path? I allowed you to wreak havoc in the Angel Nebula for several years. Look what you have ruined this quiet and peaceful place into. What if this is your freedom? Then I will completely end you here today. If you continue to let yourself be free, you will only continue to poison the universe. Morgana interrupted Kesha. Having said all this, you are always laughing at my incompetence and ignorance, but I don't care, history is written by the victors. After I destroy your so-called justice, I will make you even more ignorant and incompetent. Morgana put one hand on her hips and pointed at Kesha with one finger and said loudly. You are always like this, thinking that other advice and admonitions are mocking your incompetence and ignorance. Forget it, let's stop talking about old times. Call your accomplices out, or you may not stand a chance. As Kesha finished speaking, her eyesight became sharper, no longer as peaceful as before. Morgana felt it most clearly, but she calmed down when she thought of the backup plan she had prepared in advance. Kesha was thoughtful when she saw this, but this did not hinder her action. The originally empty space around the throne suddenly glowed with dots of silver light. They were silver blades shaped like darts, and then these silver blades it shoots out like a bullet. Morgana didn't care to curse Kesha's arrogance and shamelessness, and quickly took out her devil's claw to block the front. Countless silver blades hit the devil's claws and flew away, but did not penetrate as usual. Seeing this, Kesha didn't care at all. With a slight wave of her hand, giant silver wings appeared on both sides of the throne where she was sitting, and then cut forward mercilessly. The space seemed to be cut apart in the area where the sharp edge of the silver wing passed by. Morgana's expression changed when she saw this, and she hurriedly avoided it, without even the slightest thought of trying the sharp edge of the silver wing. If you are able, can you please vote for more monthly tickets? The author has already planned to quit playing the game and write hard in the future. Try our best to ensure 2 updates every day. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 724. The dark devil's claws and the huge silver wings collided together, shooting out dazzling sparks, and kept pushing against each other. Blocking the silver wings, it seems that you have found a lot of dark silver mines over the years, so what about adding another one? Kesha looked relaxed. As she raised a finger and pressed forward, another silver wing floating on the side cut out from another direction, but it was also blocked by the devil's claw. If you can still block it, how about 2 more? In addition to the 2 silver wings present, 2 huge silver wings appeared around Kesha again. Seeing this, Morgana couldn't help but cursed. The most terrible thing was that the star life that was originally hovering and charging began to start. Increase the speed of rotation, and it is obvious that an attack will be launched. At this moment, a dark figure swept from the side of the scene towards Kesha, who was sitting on the throne. It was Shallan, who was hunted by Star Fate before. Seeing that her queen was in dire straits, Shallan could only surround Wei and rescue Zhao, hoping to distract Keisha so that the queen could escape. But in his desperation, Shallan forgot that there was the angel's sacred left wing present. Ruaning went directly through the wormhole, came to its side and kicked it out. If you want to get close to Queen Kesha, you have to pass me first. A faint contemptuous smile appeared on Ruaning's face, and she obviously didn't think much of Shallan's strength. Ruaning. Shallan said the name slowly, with a very ugly look on his face. In fact, most of the angels present were old faces. They were sisters who fought side by side. Now we are enemies who are about to face each other with swords, which has to be said to be a tragedy. But none of the angels present were children. Although they felt very uncomfortable, they did not show any mercy to their former sisters. Although Ruaning said he was relaxed, he did not relax his vigilance, because Shaylin was also a master of micro-wormhole warfare, and if he was not careful, he might end up here today. So Ruoning locked her attention firmly on Shaylin and would never let her hinder Queen Keisha. Although Shalan was anxious when she saw this, she did not dare to blindly jump through the wormhole. If she was caught by Ruoning, not only would she not be able to save the queen, but she would lose her precious combat power. On the other side, Morgana was having a hard time resisting the two silver wings. When she noticed Xin Ming approaching at a very fast speed, it was already too late. She had to deflect her body and narrowly avoided Xingming's rotating cutting blade. Front. As soon as Starfate passed Morgana, it immediately turned back, seemingly determined not to give up until it was cut in half. Seeing this, Kesha shook her head slightly and stopped the cutting action of the two silver wings beside her. She just looked at Morgana, awkwardly avoiding the cutting of Starfate, and soon her body was covered with colors. At this moment, in the throne room of the Skyblade flagship, He-11 was rubbing his smooth chin, his blue eyes without any trace of light, and he was obviously wandering in the sky. However, the slight smile on her lips told others that she was in a good mood now. At this moment, Morgana was constantly cursing some rude words on the battlefield. It seemed that only this could relieve her nervousness at the moment. The fallen angels and high-level demons who were originally watching the battle from the back of the battlefield saw that their queen was at an absolute disadvantage, and they all attacked in the direction of Kesha. Seeing this, the high-level angel guards suspended behind Kesha also attacked to meet the enemy. Yan and Len were among them. Some of the guards were older and more enthusiastic in reminding them in the communication. Don't be impulsive for a while, and remember not to go deep alone. The other party is an elite like us. Pay attention to cooperation. After saying this, the high-level angel guard speeded up and caught up with his companions. Yan and Len also moved closer to each other to take care of each other. And not long after the guardian angel left Kesha's surroundings, a figure suddenly appeared in the empty void, right next to Kesha's throne, and a silver thin sword swooped from its spread-out dark wings like a deadly poisonous snake, biting Kesha's face. But it is a pity that a silver blade emerged from the void and blocked Kesha's face. The collision between the two caused ripples visible to the naked eye and expanded towards the surroundings. Yun Lan, you are good at hiding, but do you think I will forget you? Kesha was still looking in the direction of Morgana, without even shifting her gaze. I didn't expect that Queen Keisha would still remember me after so many years. As Yun Lan spoke, she turned over and flew backwards. Along the way, a silver blade almost cut past her body. As if he found that simply using the silver blade to cut was useless, a silver wing suddenly turned its tip and rushed towards Yun Lan, who was constantly being forced to stay away. Seeing the huge silver wing stabbing him, Yun Lan could only hold the weapon in front of him against the edge of the silver wing. As the two collided, terrifying pressure came from the weapon. Sharp-eyed Yun Lan even noticed cracks on her sword, and the next moment the sword in her hand suddenly broke where it touched the silver wing. Yun Lan quickly turned sideways to avoid it, but she could dodge the approaching silver wing if she wanted to. The huge silver wing sliced right through her left upper arm. Yun Lan gritted her teeth and retreated even faster, not daring to stop at all. It wasn't until she was 2 kilometers away from Kesha that she stopped and twisted into a ball of pain. Her left arm had disappeared, and she was floating quietly hundreds of meters away from Kesha. Silverwing did not continue to pursue, but slowly retreated to Kesha's side. Just when Yun Lan breathed a sigh of relief, an anxious call from Morgana rang through the communication. Careful! Yun Lan was startled, and just as she turned around, a silver stream of light suddenly hit her and penetrated directly through her chest and abdomen. Yun Ian's turning movement also froze in mid-step. Morgana gritted her teeth, clenched her fists, and her eyes were full of anger, but she could only watch helplessly. Yun Lan lowered his head slightly and looked at the wound that ran across his entire chest and abdomen, constantly seeping out energy particles, and felt all the strength in his body drain away rapidly. Her super gene was working hard to heal the wound, but the two completely separated upper and lower bodies could no longer be reunited. "That's fine, Queen, I'm sorry, I can't accompany you anymore." Yunlan closed her eyes. As the energy particles leaking from the wound continued to increase, her entire body began to turn into energy particles. Shalan and Ruanning's fierce pursuit of each other came to an end for the time being. Looking in the direction of Yunlan, Shalan felt a sense of sadness again. "This is already the second time. The second life that I finally got has ended in this way again. What's the point of continuing to reincarnate like this?" Shalan's voice talking to herself reached Ruanning's ears, but she refused to comment. "No matter how many times you are reincarnated, you will eventually die. This is the fate of your betrayal of Queen Keisha." Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 725. Shalan did not respond to Ruanning, but just mentioned the sword again. The meaning he wanted to express was obvious. The battle between the guardian angels and the high-level demons and fallen angels was also very smooth. After all, the quality of the demons' troops was there, and the high-level guardian angels were all elites selected from a million. It can be said that they had survived countless battles. Strong. Seeing that Starfate struck again after killing Yunlan, Morgana couldn't stand the scene of being gradually trapped to death by Kesha anymore, so she yelled. "How long are you going to wait, Carl? If you wait any longer, all my subordinates will die. What's the point even if I defeat Kesha?" In the Styx galaxy, Carl was observing the battle scene between Morgana and Kesha through the big clock. Seeing that Morgana could not help calling her by her name, he sighed slightly. "Oh my God, do you really want to help Morgana? If it is discovered that the angels will soon come to the Styx galaxy to raise an army to punish them, then we will not be able to stop the angels' troops." A man whose whole body was wrapped tightly in clothes, wearing a hood and a metal mask spoke out, puzzled by Carl's decision. "Snow, Morgana cannot die yet. My research has improved and I need her to attract the angels' attention. Otherwise, I will have to bear the pressure from the angels alone. Without direct contact with the Queen, you have no idea how powerful she is. Besides, Liangbing is one of my few friends, and I don't want her to die like this. Moreover, I have already understood part of the nature of the void, and the means of the known universe can no longer destroy me, not even the King of Gods." After speaking, Carl looked at the huge portrait in his study room. Liangbing, who was wearing the Angel King's armor, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a gentle smile. Far away on the battlefield of Angel Nebula, Morgana suddenly felt her pressure drop suddenly. Knowing that it was Carl who took action, her expression suddenly became relaxed. The devil's claw that collided with the silver wing flew away, and returned to Morgana's side. Kesha frowned slightly. Her treasure house of sacred knowledge was suddenly suppressed by a positional calculation power, causing the silver wing to fall apart. The wing output also dropped. Xingming, who was remotely controlled by Hexi, immediately stopped in place, entered the automatic defense mode, obviously disconnected from Hexi, and then began to return in the direction of the Sky Blade. "This is your helper. It is indeed very powerful. It can suppress my computing power. It seems that you are well prepared." Kesha was still sitting on her throne calmly, with two silver wings spread out on both sides, and did not panic because her computing power was suppressed. "How about Kesha, does it feel uncomfortable to be suppressed? Now I want to see how you sit there leisurely." After speaking, Morgana flapped her wings and rushed out, and the two demonic claws behind her also opened to grab Kesha, who was sitting on the throne. A flash of silver light was seen, and the silver wing resisted the claw of the devil that was caught, and the other silver wing violently flew the devil's claw away. Then the four silver wings attacked together, jamming Morgana's other devil's claw, and then cut it frantically. At the same time, dozens of silver blades were carried out, shooting like a barrage towards the direction where there was no cover at this moment. Of Morgana. Seeing this, Morgana could only retreat. She didn't want to use her body to test whether the silver blade was sharp, but the silver blade was chasing after her. Morgana's original good mood turned extremely bad again. With a move of her hand, a black silver chain extended forward from the wormhole, twisting the incoming silver blade into pieces. But this is not without cost. The Suyan chain is also seriously broken. After all, both sides are secretly Suyan weapons. In a head-to-head confrontation, no one can survive. Even if the Devil's Claw looks normal, if you look closely at it now, you can find countless marks cut by silver wings. Why don't you continue the attack? If you do, one of your claws will be gone. That was a weapon made with Ansu silver as the main body. It would be such a pity to disappear like this. Kesha's exclamation sounded like a strong sarcasm in Morgana's ears. She turned slightly red with anger, shouted angrily and rushed towards Kesha again. The silver chains around her body shot out like spears. But it was of no use at all. They were all accurately blocked by the silver blade, and both sides were shattered into countless metal residues at the same time. Why? You were obviously suppressed. Why is it still like this? Morgana roared that she had almost used all her means so far, but still couldn't touch Kesha Fenhao, which made her a little desperate. She couldn't believe that this was the result of her hard work for so long. The suppression by your accomplices was very effective, containing 60% of my computing power. But you have to know that even if I become weaker, it doesn't mean you become stronger. At this moment, one of the claws of the Devil's Claw, which was cut crazily by silver wings on all sides, was removed, and it was only a matter of time before the other claws were removed. At this moment, a communication request popped up. Kesha suppressed Morgana while connecting the communication. It was He-11 calling. Queen Kesha, I have traced the source of the computing power that suppresses your computing power. Oh, so fast. Where is it, tell me. He-11 hesitated for a moment and then said. Coming from the Styx galaxy, it was the big clock that suppressed you. We have no means of countermeasures yet. As expected, it was Carl Yi who was secretly helping Morgana. In this case, I will go to the Styx galaxy to have a good chat with him. After speaking, Kesha hung up the communication with He-11 and turned her attention to the battlefield again. Aren't you going to surrender yet? Bah! Do you think I will surrender? Hearing this, Kesha's expression showed a trace of sadness. The 4 silver wings that had almost dismantled the Devil's Claws worked together, and the target was Morgana. Morgana disappeared in place. Kesha frowned slightly when she saw this. Most of her computing power was suppressed and she was unable to accurately calculate the location of Morgana's wormhole. Morgana was also in a dilemma at this moment. She found that she had almost no way to deal with Kesha, who stood there like a mountain, making people unable to think of any challenge. Just when Morgana was hesitating whether the battle should continue, a message came from Carl. I can't keep suppressing Kesha's computing power, so you take the opportunity to leave Angel Nebula with your men as soon as possible. Morgana felt that what Carl said was right, but didn't this mean she lost again? However, Morgana hesitated for a moment. After all, her rationality as the Demon King made her make the right choice. Morgana announced the retreat directly on the demon's private channel. Shaylin's chest was rising and falling rapidly as she was fighting Ruaning. After receiving the news, she deliberately directed the scene away from Kesha. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 726. After seeing Morgana avoiding the fight and no longer charging towards her, Kesha turned her attention to other areas of the battlefield. The high-level demons and fallen angels who had been entangled with the guardian angels began to get rid of the entanglement in an orderly manner. As Kesha, who has experienced countless battles, she naturally knows what this means, but she also knows that it is a bit difficult to keep Morgana now. If the opponent does not have the idea of fighting to the death, she really can't catch her if she wants to escape. Not to mention that she was still suppressed by the big clock. Thinking of this, Kesha felt a surge of unknown anger in her heart. It can be said that this was the most frustrating battle Kesha had fought since she became the King of Angels. Like all kinds of chains, whenever the angels are about to completely annihilate the source of the devil, there will be inexplicable obstacles that lead to failure. In fact, Kesha also knows the reason for this. The angel civilization is now too powerful, making Liang, Thunderblade Star, Gulans, and even Karl feel threatened. If they really go against the angels, they don't dare to take such a big risk, but they are more willing than anyone else to do evil things behind the scenes. The devil is like a knife that constantly bleeds angels. No matter the above-mentioned civilization, they do not want the devil to fall directly. It is best to keep fighting with the angels. Otherwise, where would Morgana's resources come from? Every few thousand years, she would be able to raise an army of demons that was not weaker than the god-making civilization, and was even equipped with god-killing weapons. You must know that the devil has no stable base, so these things can just pop out of the stone. Now he finally managed to block Morgana in the Angel Nebula, the base camp of the Angel, and put her in a desperate situation, forcing her to have a decisive battle with herself. However, in order to let Morgana survive, Karl was the first to jump out and openly oppose the Angel. While Kesha was thinking about this, Morgana had already fled thousands of meters away, not even wanting one of her demon claws. Seeing this, Kesha withdrew the silver wing that was chasing after her, and moved her gaze to Shaylin, who was entangled with Ruaning 1,000 meters away, and her eyes turned cold. All the 4 silver wings attacked, outflanking him from 4 directions. Seeing this, Ruaning distanced herself from Shaylin, took out her long bow, drew the bow and knocked an arrow. The black arrows appeared like ghosts, leaving Shaylin no time to calculate the wormhole. Needless to say, the ending. Facing the all-powerful Silver Wing, Shaylin's weapon couldn't bear it at all. It was cut off by the Silver Wing in 2 blows. Shaylin, who lost his weapon, could no longer block Ruaning's shot of arrows. Faced with an arrow that was engraved with a special sacred language of killing gods and could use micro-wormholes to change its trajectory, Shalan was shot in the abdomen without noticing. Like dominoes, as the god-killing formula was activated, the god-killing energy of the arrows continued to infect Shalan's body, causing her speed and reaction to drop for a while. After that, more god-killing arrows hit Shalan, who became weak, until she lost the ability to resist, and her whole body was gradually infected by the god-killing energy, and she died in pain that was like burning her body. The winner was determined on the high-level battlefield, and the winner was also determined on the ordinary battlefield. After Morgana announced her retreat, the originally orderly retreat gradually turned into a rout due to the divisions of angels. Although Morgana failed to be killed this time, the demon group suffered heavy losses, and the Free Alliance also changed its banner under the Angels' conquest. After going through this battle, it would be difficult for the demon to survive for 1800 years. If Morgana still jumps fiercely, I'm afraid it won't be as simple as being hit hard next time. After dealing with the Battle of Melon Low, Kesha led her Sacred Wings and Sky Blades to the Styx Galaxy. All the eyeless beast civilizations along the way were turned into ashes. Kesha has no compassion for these barbaric animal civilizations who believe in violence and are accompanied by killing all day long. This is not only the blood feud left by the physical war, but also Kesha's attitude towards Karl. She didn't come to him to reminisce, but to call him to task. In the Styx Galaxy, Death Song Academy is a celestial building similar to a super seminary, but unlike the academy, it is a large research facility. Facing Kesha's personal arrival, Karl held a thick book in his arms and had already stood in the square of the academy with his 2 subordinates to greet her. Queen Kesha, welcome to your visit. I wonder why you came to the Styx galaxy in person. Carl raised his head slightly and looked up at Kesha, who was above him. His tone was neither urgent nor slow, and there was no hint of guilt or fear. You know why I came to you. Kesha's words lived up to her usual gentleness, now they were as cold as winter. I'm sorry, Queen Kesha, I have always stayed in this remote star field, conducting my own research, and have never participated in any disputes in the known universe. I have never violated the justice of angels. I don't know where I offended you. Carl's words were very sincere, but whether it was Kesha, Ruaning or Hexie who were divine wings, they could see that Carl did not put himself on the weak side. Carl, I haven't seen your eloquence improve in nearly 10,000 years. But there is no need to play riddles between us. The reason why I came to you must have a reason that you can't fool me no matter what. And you are nesting here to study death, and you are called the god of death by some civilizations. Don't think you can hide it from the angels. It's just that you are not hurting the life of the Kamigawa civilization, and I don't have the time to trouble you. And I remember that your teacher, Space, also advocated that life is precious and beautiful. The reason why the Kamigawa civilization proposed to create gods was because of this. They wanted to turn this precious thing into eternity. But your research is trampling on this concept. I don't remember your teacher teaching you this. Since Carl is telling lies, Kesha doesn't mind using her qualifications to pressure him. Queen Kesha, you are the king of the gods, and I am just a scholar doing research of my own interest in a remote corner. Why do you use such words to attack me? Besides, I also respect the concept of justice and have never opposed your concept. But now you have come to Death Song Academy to be aggressive. If you are here to ban my research, then please tell me directly. And as far as I know, Thunderblade and Gulans have been secretly conducting research on transforming living things, and Liang is also trying to make artificial gods. These are also blasphemous acts of life. Moreover, their size is more harmful than my personal research. Why didn't you go to them instead of just me? Kesha narrowed her eyes slightly when she heard this, looked at Carl and said, You use them to pressure me? If you really think so, you are totally wrong. Pan Zhen and the others know the severity and the consequences of offending the angels, and they cannot afford to fight a galaxy-level war. Besides, I am not here to argue with you about this. Ruaning takes him down. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 727. Queen Kesha, if an angel uses force against a powerless scholar without any basis, aren't you afraid that the news will spread and affect the image of the angels as justice enforcers in the known universe? Carl backed away slightly, and his calm expression was not broken until this moment. His brows were furrowed and it was obvious that Kesha's direct action was beyond his expectation. Carl, do you really think I care about my so-called image? Or in the eyes of you beings who have been secretly fighting against angels, I am just so pedantic and care so much about my image in your eyes? As for the so-called basis, my words are the basis, and the actions of our angels are justice. If I say you are colluding with the devil, then you are colluding with the devil. Kesha pointed a finger at Carl, her words unquestionable. Ruaning dived and attacked Carl after receiving Queen Kesha's order. Boy, just put your hands down. Sister, I can be gentler. Don't hurt my god. Snow, who was standing behind Carl, turned into a ball of black mist and floated in front of Carl. He swung his arm blade to try to force Ruaning back. However, Ruaning is the holy left wing of the angel. Although he has always been defeated in front of Morgana, it is not easy to deal with an unknown little god. The swooping figure suddenly lifted up and stopped in front of Snow's swung arm blade. Then, Before Snow could change his move, Ruoning turned around and hit his whip leg, sweeping it away and knocking down the door of Death Song Academy. A load-bearing column. After all this, Ruoning's goal remains unchanged, and Karl is still standing there. But it was obvious that the other young unknown man behind Karl would never watch Ruoning capture his master. The unknown man drew out the straight knife from his waist and made a slash, but then the blade was cut off by Ruoning's sword. Ruoning was also angered by the obstruction of Snow and the unknown man. In addition, she was not an angel with a good temper. She swung the sword in her hand and left a long and narrow wound on the chest of the unknown man. Then he ignored him and walked towards Karl. Ruoning didn't think that Karl, with his thin appearance as a scholar, would be his opponent. Owner. Snow crawled out of the ruins and saw this scene. He shouted anxiously and was immediately ready to stop Ruoning again. Snow, forget it, you all just stand down. Karl, who had been silent since Ruoning took action, spoke up. He slowly took off his hood, revealing short blonde hair and a delicate face. The heavy book in his arms was floating beside him. Queen Kesha, I don't want to have a conflict of force with you, but unfortunately, equal exchanges must often be based on equal force. And I am a scholar and do not like to use violence, but this does not mean that I have no power. Karl's body slowly floated into the air, a faint blue-rose light appeared in his eyes, and the book was opened in front of him. Pretend to be a ghost. Seeing this, Ruoning didn't care and bent down slightly to gather strength, then stepped on the ground and jumped towards Karl in the air. In response, Karl gently raised his hand in Ruoning's direction, and a 40 square meter rectangular, translucent light blue energy light curtain suddenly appeared in front of Ruoning. Ruoning couldn't dodge and passed through the light curtain. Then Ruoning's eyes widened because she felt as if her body was on fire and she almost lost control. Karl's open hand was immediately grasped, and the blue energy beside Ruoning quickly gathered at the center, turned into a ball, and then exploded with a bang. The huge force shattered the ground of the square. Ruoning was directly blown away and landed on the square and rolled several times, making him very embarrassed. After coughing a few times, Ruoning gritted her teeth and stood up with her sword on the ground, covering her arms. Her eyes were full of anger. She was injured by the explosion, and her body was also damaged. Kesha also frowned when she saw this, and stopped watching. The silver wings appeared and slashed at Karl in the air. Karl subconsciously erected an energy light curtain in front of the silver wing. The silver wing passed through the energy light screen and fell as if it had lost kinetic energy. But the next moment, the silver wing that followed the first silver wing directly cut the light screen in half and dissipated the energy. Before Karl could dodge, the silver wing cut through his abdomen, leaving a wound that cut him in half. Look, your god is dead. Seeing this, Ruoning said to Snow, who was getting up not far away, obviously venting his anger at being injured by Karl. But what happened next frightened all the angels, including Kesha, Hexi, and Ruoning. Karl looked at the wound on his abdomen expressionlessly, but he was shocked in his heart. He was now assisted by a big clock, and he was still at his home court. But even so, Karl was frightened just now. If he hadn't already achieved a phantom body and no longer had a physical body, he might have died on the spot at this moment. After being surprised, Kesha decisively summoned 2 more silver wings, and reconnected with the silver wings that had lost kinetic energy before, and floated again. A total of 4 silver wings were cutting towards Karl at the same time. When Karl saw this, a circle of blue energy vortex suddenly appeared around his body, and the cut silver wings advanced slowly as if they were encountering some great resistance. Just as Karl's attention was gradually getting closer to his silver wings, several silver blades fell straight from above his head, penetrated Karl's body, and sank into the ground of the square. Seeing that it was still useless, Kesha summoned back the 4 silver wings. The next second, the 4 silver wings suddenly began to grow in size until each side reached a length of more than 10 meters. At this moment, Kesha was sitting on the throne, with the wings unfolding behind her. The silver wings covering the sky and the sun on all sides. Then one of the silver wings detached from Kesha's back, a red halo gradually enveloped the silver wing, and terrifying energy began to gather on it. Carl looked solemn when he saw this, and the energy intensity around him continued to increase. Cut. Kesha let out a soft sound, and the silver wings that had accumulated energy fell suddenly, and the silver wings that were more than 10 meters wide were cut down like a sword that split the sky. The vortex of energy gathered by Carl was easily cut open like a water curtain, and the falling silver wings followed closely and cut from Carl's forehead to the square below him. Rumbling sounds continued from below the square. A few seconds later, the silver wings emerged from the deep ditch cut by themselves, and they were restored to their original appearance. It seems that the cutting of the silver wings just now destroyed the structure of the Death Song Academy square platform. With the cracks, starting from the deep groove cut by the silver wings, the cracks spread all the way. In the end, the small half of the square platform, together with the structure below, was separated from the Death Song Academy as a whole. And even the blow that shattered the Death Song Academy still failed to cause any harm to Carl. Is this what you rely on? Carl, you really surprised me. Use the power of a big clock to control and drive energy, but your divine body cannot be touched by attacks. Is this a new technology? Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 728. As time goes by, the missing parts of Carl's body are rapidly recovering, just like a holographic projection, but neither Kesha nor the other angels present can detect Carl's existence in their own induction. This eliminates the possibility that Carl at this moment is a fake. At the same time, this is also the question that He-11 wants to know most at this moment. The computing power of the space-based computing cloud has been turned on to its maximum power at this moment. Unfortunately, Hexy still hasn't made much discovery. At the same time, the energy used by Carl is also very special. It is not dark energy, but a brand new energy that has some characteristics of dark energy. Queen Kesha, I am not your opponent, but you should have discovered that you cannot kill me. If this continues, even if you destroy the Death Song Academy in a fit of anger, you won't gain anything, and I might do something irrational if I lose the Death Song Academy. Kesha raised her eyebrows slightly when she heard this. Are you threatening me? No, Queen Kesha, this is just a fact. What I want has never changed. I just want to do my research peacefully in the Styx galaxy. I have never thought of going against you, Queen Kesha, nor have I ever thought of overthrowing or destroying your just order. Carl dispersed the energy around him to show his sincerity, because just showing strength would have been enough. Kesha didn't make a sound. Her silver wings in the shape of wings were still unfolded. She was waiting for news from He-11, but she understood the meaning of Carl's words, but if the matter was settled like this, Carl would definitely ride on the angel's head in the future. Besides, it's just unkillable. Angels don't have any means to restrict a god, but the cost is a bit high. And the most important thing is that Carl has the authority of the big clock, which is the most troublesome. This will make many restrictive means useless, because in the face of the calculation of the big clock, it is only a matter of time before any technical means of the Kamigawa technology system are broken through. After a moment, Hexy's voice reached Kesha's ears. I can't see his method, it doesn't seem to be a technology of the Kamigawa technology system. I feel that this is very likely to be the so-called void technology, but this special manifestation of Carl's divine body has given me a direction for my research on the fourth generation of divine bodies. That's the only good news among all the bad news. Kesha's response made Hexy shake her head secretly. As the scientific research officer of Angel, she had neglected her duties a bit. She felt that she had fallen behind the first-line scientific research level in the known universe. Now that Carl has developed this technology quietly, I don't know if there are any unknown technological means that have been suppressed by the blazing sun for thousands of years and other civilizations that have not yet been displayed. But there was no change on Kesha's face. She just said to Carl. Carl, if you lose the big clock, do you think you can still compete with a high-level guardian angel like you are now? Can your research continue? Queen Kesha, what do you mean? Carl felt a little bad, but he remained calm. This was indeed his weakness, because without the big clock, his exploration of the void would be delayed indefinitely. This was something Carl could not tolerate, and the reason why he secretly helped Liang Bing was because he was afraid that the angels would come to stop his research after knowing that he was conducting research on the void, because angels prohibited the spread of the so-called void theory. Of course, the reason why research on the void requires a large amount of experimental materials, and the experimental materials are living lives, is why Carl is called the god of death in the Styx galaxy, because he is keen on observing the death of life. Fortunately, the most difficult era has passed, and he is arming himself with the achievements of the void. Although the angel is still a behemoth today, he is no longer an existence that the opponent can manipulate at will, and he has a certain degree of resistance. Although the body of the great clock is rooted in the dark plane, most of the energy required for its operation needs to be obtained from the known universe. For this reason, it must be connected to the stars in the known universe. And as far as I know, as the amount of information collected by the big clock becomes larger and larger, the energy required to maintain its operation also increases. What do you think will happen if I order all the angelic warriors to cut off the connection between the great clock and the stars throughout the known universe? Kesha held her chin with her hand and looked at Carl quietly, waiting for his reaction. Queen Kesha, the great clock is connected to more than 1,000,000 stars, and you simply can't cut them all off. Carl's voice no longer lived up to its previous calmness, and his tone speeded up unconsciously. There are more than 1,000,000 serving angels in the angel civilization. If I mobilize them all, even if there are hundreds of millions of stars connected to the big clock, it will only take a little more time to cut off all these links. Do you think we angels can do this? Carl did not answer Kesha's words. This was the best answer, although he knew that this was actually impossible. It was impossible for Kesha to let the angel civilization do nothing and only weaken the big clock. But not doing it doesn't mean that angel doesn't have the ability to do it. This is Carl's biggest concern, and this is also the reason why he doesn't want to be noticed by angels. Now that the bitter fruit of the Battle of Marinlo is sown, Carl finally wants to personally try how bitter it is. But now neither Carl nor Kesha has a decisive trump card that can completely overwhelm the other party. Kesha is afraid of Carl, who has no worries and cannot be killed, and takes revenge on the angel. Carl was wary of angel's interference with the great clock, because the technology of the great clock was not a secret to angels, and angels also had the means to modify and delete information from the dark plane. After the confrontation continued for more than 10 minutes, Carl reluctantly chose to compromise. He took a step back and began to talk about his conditions. Queen Kesha, I am willing not to interfere with the development of any civilization in the known universe from now on, and I will no longer help Liang Bing. Not enough, Carl. Carl was silent for a while and then added another condition. I will not conduct my research in star fields outside the Styx galaxy, and I will never leave the Styx galaxy again. If I violate the above conditions, the angels have the right to judge my sins, and I will not make any resistance. After Carl's words fell, Kesha didn't say anything else. In fact, both parties knew that whether it was Carl's conditions or the angels' promise not to destroy the big clock, they were just empty words. After this storm has passed, Angel will definitely enter into research on the void to find a way to restrain this invulnerable divine body. And Carl will not do nothing, such as developing some gadgets to restrain angels, arming his affiliated civilizations to prevent angels from attacking again in the future. However, the matter of funding the devil may have to stop for a while, otherwise Kesha will never give up. From this matter, Carl has also tested part of the angel's bottom line, such as justice, life, provoking the rules set by angels, etc.